Hello. So today I would like to show you how to create a data factory pipeline that reads from a data Unity catalog and writes it to the Azure SQL database. So first we will need our link service, Azure Data Lake link service. As you can see here, I have it set up with system managed identity, but you can also use the access token. You just need to select the cluster. Let me test it. I don't know if my cluster is still on. Let's see. I don't know if it's gone offline. Okay, it's still on. So it succeeded. So you also need a staging location. So that's why I created this Azure Data Lake. I I didn't use manage identity to do the access, but account key. I just since this is a demo, I just made it simple. I have a storage account. I have account key. Test connection is working. Finally, my Azure SQL database. So I already put the credentials. I put the username password. Again, you can also use your managed identity. That's the best practice. But since this is a demo, I'm just using the username and password method. So if I go to my pipeline, unfortunately, I already created a pipeline, but I had done, did I did this. I thought I was recording, but it didn't record. But I will remind you of all the steps. So first, you create your data set. This is the most important one, right? This is the one that reads from your Unity catalog. And here you connect to your link service that you created in the last step. Here, just leave it blank, right? Don't bother because the most thing that happen here is that when we click this, we end up seeing only um, the database option gives you only the schema, right? However, that is not always what we want because it defaults to giving you the Hive meta store. If I go here just to show you, confirm that it's Hive meta store, this is what it is. This is the one that you see, this Hive meta store. So if you actually want to see the catalog that is not Hive meta store, you need to go to the pipeline, and when you go to the source, you put your select statement. Select the actual table name that you need. And once you do that, you go back to you go to your sync and you select your SQL database. I've already set this up. I think this should be straightforward for anyone. They, for those that are curious, I had set the link service, parameterize my table name, and that was it. I made it auto create table just for the demo purpose. And the important thing is when you come to the settings, you have to use a staging location because that's a requirement when loading into Azure SQL database from your data factory. So I already have a storage account. I just pick a container, a folder that I'll use. And So that is it. But when you run this, it may not work because of certain permissions. So some permissions that you have to be careful of is that you need to make sure that you give the access. If you create your Unity catalog, let me see, for demo catalog, for example, I need to make sure that in the permissions I added all account users, or I added that specific data factory service principal. Make sure that I've added it, right? You need to make sure that this, you see demo catalog, I added it. So that's one thing you need to make sure you do. In addition to that, um, at this external location level, if you are using manage identity, you also need to do that. You also need to add add this to your you see what I did here. I granted access. I gave all account user access to the external location. So these two things you need to do if you want to use um, the what's it called? If you want to use the manage identity to as to read the data from your Unity catalog, and in the sync, there's nothing much to do except from the usual. And there you go. When you run it will work, though it takes time. So do I advise this? So here's my own 2 cents, right? I advise that you only do this when you are actually um, when you are actually trying to uh, read data from Unity Catalog into an on-prem uh, SQL database, because data factory is normally easier because you have the self-hosted integration runtime to write to a on-prem. However, if you have connected your Databricks workspace to a local to be within the network of your local um, SQL database, you can directly use a Databricks notebook to read the data from Unity Catalog and write it using the Spark JDBC API to write to a SQL database, even if it's on-prem. The only thing is there has to be configuration done properly to make that work. Um, then the other thing is also the other option is you can actually decide to on your own read the data from Unity Catalog, write it as a Parquet file, right? Once you write it as a Parquet file, you can now um, use Data Factory to read the Parquet file, right? And from your storage account and write it directly to your SQL database. So these are two alternatives that can also work, and you don't have to go through this step because at the end of the day, it's still using this staging location, which makes it take time, right? Because it reads the data, it temporarily writes it to a staging location. That's something that I actually don't like that it's doing that, but it's 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 um it's what it is. So Let me check. Actually, I'm curious to see what's going on in that temporary location. See, I don't know which one it's using currently, because this one is saying 440, right? So, so probably this one. Okay, so this is what's going on. As you can see, it's nothing but just writing it as a package file. So, which is what I suspected, right? It writes a package file and it deletes it at the end of the day. Like, to me, why why spin up a data factory to do these things, this multi-step method? You can just directly do this on your own, write a notebook that reads the data from your Unity Catalog table. And I have a notebook right here for those that don't know much about Databricks. So I have a notebook that I wrote to do something like this. Let me show you. If I scroll down, this is just a two-liner. Right, let me see, go up a bit. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Here. So you create this two-line. You write the the you read the table, you catalog table into a data frame, and you write it to the location of your choice. Right. Obviously, you need to have access to the external location that you should know where you want to write it, wherever data factory also should have access to this location, right? And you write this as a package file, and your you use your data factory to read that package file. So that's about it. But the most important thing why people get stuck is they try to use the table mode and they try to search for it, but and they cannot find the Unity catalog table. You have to specifically write it in this way and do the other setups yourself. So while this is, yeah, from a user interface, is easier drag and drop, but it's not efficient at all. It's not efficient at all. The best bet is directly use a notebook to write it to your SQL database using JDBC. But if you don't have that option, you can do that. You can do this or create a notebook step that converts it to Parquet and use it data factory to write to your SQL database. All right, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. That's it. Thank you.